You are now listening to The Untimely Truth.
Hello, everybody. This is the second episode of The Untimely Truth. I'm joined by my friend Chase.
Hello.
And I'm Steve. And we'd like to talk to you about some pretty gory topics today. Some capital punishment, some history of torture. And Chase has just got a little disclaimer about that because it's some pretty sick shit.
Some pretty terrible stuff.
Yeah.
So humans have a pretty long history of coming up with different ways to punish each other and essentially punish each other to death.
Yeah.
Right?
Make it a spectacle.
Today we just wanted to cover some of those things throughout history, and they are going to be pretty gruesome, pretty nasty details. You were warned.
Yeah.
Just a disclaimer.
It's going to be gross.
It's going to be terrible. But get ready.
Yeah.
All right, so we have some of our very favorite forms of torture coming your way.
If you want to call them favorites.
I mean, just get real excited about this
yeah, they wouldn't be
stuff.
among like my chosen ways to spend an afternoon.
But I would pay to see it happen. That's just
well, okay. Well, that'll be a good point for me to bring up with our debate later about the death penalty. All right, so I like to call these methods torture with a twist of death.
Because that's what they are, for sure.
They're just pretty much an extended, shitty afternoon or several afternoons in some cases. Where, at the end, they're just going to let you die. And it's not fun. So one of these
torture with the side of death.
Yeah. So one of these really early methods is death by crushing or pressing. So it's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty terrible as well. It was a method of execution that has a history that varies kind of greatly from place to place where it's practiced. So it's usually involving like big pieces of stone or just anything really heavy. The most creative one, I think, is using an elephant. So this was common. Yeah, this was common in Southeast Asia and India for like 4,000 years. They would just be like training elephants.
Just sit on people.
Well, they'd more just kind of put your head on a block and have the elephant put one foot on and just kind of slowly crush your head like a grape.
Those poor elephants.
Yeah, they didn't want to be doing that.
No,
I know. I feel bad for them.
Forced to murder.
Forced
the
into
elephant trials.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Right?
I hate that.
I know. It's not fair to the elephants. But they'd train elephants to do this. I can imagine their watermelon budget, because you got to give the elephant something to kind of, measure the crushing force that he's using versus squishing.
Great snacks, though.
Yeah, but then he loves it because he gets to eat the watermelon.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Sometimes it's done really fast, so they just kind of crush you.
Right.
But a lot of times it's just like incremental weight. Like one of the really common practice in medieval times, they just come and put like another couple stones on you every 4 or 6 hours. And you just be out there for days, and it just be getting heavier and heavier, crushing all your organs.
Just a very long period of time where you were in ridiculous amounts of pain.
Bad fucking time, man.
Damn.
So it was really common in medieval Europe, but that wasn't done with elephants, obviously. Didn't have elephants. Kind of related to like the thumb vices and like the knee crushing devices that the medieval Europeans had.
Right.
Which are pretty brutal.
Like the ones where they like kept your leg in place but turned your foot.
Yes.
Nasty.
Yeah. They're like, oh, we can use mechanics now. And
we know things.
What we should use it for is brutal torture. Yeah, absolutely.
Gross, Steve.
Yeah.
I hate that.
So
thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no worries. You got another good method here.
I do. This is the weirdest one to me. I don't understand the point. I think it's a little bit more psychological. But this is called poenicalai, which is essentially known as penalty of the sack, which is not what you think it is. Dated way back to 100 BC. Under Roman law, this was a type of death penalty used on those who were charged with parricide.
So it's not just like a little boy just punching the balls over.
It's not. No. Okay. Sounds like it. It's not.
Okay.
But yeah, so people who killed their father, essentially, this was the special punishment that you got. What would happen is the victim would be placed and bound in a leather sack with a dog, a snake, a monkey, and a chicken or rooster. Then the sack would be sewn shut. And you would be chucked into the river.
Oh.
So animals will suffer.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Not fair at all.
Everyone's dying together.
They
though.
literally did this practice for like 500 years.
Oh man.
But you would have a choice between Poenicali and being thrown to the beasts. So essentially, like being thrown to the lions.
Just eaten by them. What would you pick out of those two?
I don't know, man. Like, I obviously the lions, because I wouldn't want to put all those other animals through that for no reason.
I'd be kind of thinking about the other animals too.
Yeah, and shitty. Every time, so imagine how many deaths, how many animals they had to go through.
There's a little guy like. Did you say a monkey too?
Yeah, monkey. Yeah, so it was a monkey, a dog, a snake, and a chicken or rooster.
See, I would love to hang out with all those animals separately and not tied in a sack.
Right, but then you're all gonna die anyway. So what's the point of putting the animals in there? Is it the initial like 30 seconds where you're not dead? And then
just the chaos.
The chaos,
sack, though. It's
yeah.
Gotta be fun to watch
chaos of the sack.
Chaos
oh my God.
of the sack.
So
don't Google that.
Please don't. About 400 years later, actually, Germany revived the practice.
Oh, good. That sounds like them.
And they used it for like most of the first half of the 18th century. 2
podcasts in, and I'm kind of like taking pot shots at Germany twice.
It's right. That's okay. Germany, we hate you. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow. Was it Deutschland? No, we don't. We love you and your chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so should I go on to my second one here?
I mean, yeah, I'm down to hear about some sawing.
Yeah, this one doesn't have anything to do with being tied into sacks. Mine are much more like utilitarian.
Right.
Crushing, sawing. Sawing is very self-explanatory.
I'm like psychological torture.
Yeah, you're like literal saw. Different methods of death by sawing have been recorded, but the practice was most common among medieval-era warlords. In cases related to the Roman Emperor Caligula, this can be done in a variety of ways, but he was commonly known for transversely cutting the victim. So he would like start at the groin and you'd be hung upside down and he'd just like cut you from crotch to like sternum basically. Because
nice.
By the time you got there, you'd be dead. But yeah, just a long time being just sawed through the middle. There's also ones where they just kind of cut you in half, but that is over too quickly, apparently.
Oh,
their liking.
Not enough suffering.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So they decided, if we hang them upside down and just kind of keep them hanging there, we can just cut them stow to stern, and
it'll take a long time.
Yeah, it'll take about 6 hours. Yeah. So that's. I mean, there's not much to talk about with that one because it's really just cutting someone with a saw.
Cutting people.
Yeah.
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 Imagine being that guy though.
I mean, I looked at some medieval paintings of it today, and like that cartoonish quality of some medieval paintings, it just almost looked kind of hilarious because there's just like 3 guys and they're like cartoonishly cut down the middle in a big pile, and then there's one guy like in the middle of all of it, and there's just 2 guys with kind of like a bored look on their face, like and just going back.
What are you doing
forth.
After this, Bob?
Yeah. Do you want to go out for a beer after work? Shut up! Oh man, this guy.
Oh, I hate when they scream.
Yeah, they just all day. It's a stressful job. You think I love being here?
Yeah. Imagine being me, sir.
Yeah. You ever think about how I feel? No.
Selfish.
Think about yourself.
That's why you're being sawed.
Yeah.
God, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Sawing, crushing.
Yep.
Awesome. Sacks. So scaphism is my next one.
Sounds like a skin disease.
Yeah, you've got the scaph.
You got the scaphism.
Dated back to 5th century BC. Scaphism originated in Persia. Yeah.
They're more creative in the Middle East.
They really are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
At least about this. Yeah.
Scaphism originated in Persia. So essentially what scaphism was, 2 boats or 2 tree trunks were put together. So you kind of had like an ocean coffin. They would cut some holes for your arms.
Like the Titanic.
Well, kind of.
An ocean coffin.
Ocean coffin. A little bit smaller.
Much smaller.
More for an individual.
Personal Titanic.
Yes. Personal Titanic is what it should be renamed. Yeah, so arms and holes for your arms and legs and a big one for your head. And then you would be put in the water. You would be force-fed milk and honey to the point where your stomach distended. And honey would also be lathered all over your extremities.
Your ears and your nose.
Everywhere where bugs could get.
And at first you're just like...
Right?
Yeah.
But you're drinking so much milk and honey that your stomach is literally distending. And that's pretty
Yeah, but
disgusting.
for the first half an hour, you're like, this is pretty great.
And then for the next 17 days, which is how long it normally lasted.
It's like doing MDMA. You pay for it in the end.
You pay for it in the end.
Yeah.
So essentially because you wouldn't dehydrate, you would be continuously being force fed
Yeah.
milk and honey.
And you're shitting yourself.
And you're shitting yourself, so the vermin and like all the nasty bugs are crawling. You're being eaten from the outside in and the inside out at the same time. Is probably one of the nastiest ways, in my opinion, to die, because it's literally just like over 2 weeks of not being able to get dead.
Yeah, just like, oh man, I wish I was dead right now. Yeah. I do that at the till already. I couldn't imagine being in a boat and just like being eaten alive by
and
bugs.
the hot sun.
Yeah.
Don't forget the hot sun, that like blistering forehead and like crows picking at your eyes and like
and too bad we're not being filmed right now, because my face that whole time you were describing was just like curled into a
your
grotesque,
mouth is like
yeah, vomit face the whole time.
Yeah.
Anyways, should I talk about keel hauling?
You sure could, but before you do that, I'm gonna share a fun fact with you about scabism.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they would read about all of these, recorded cases, and they were like, "That's a really great punishment, but it seems like a lot of work." So later on, they got pretty lazy with it and would just throw people in cages with honey.
Oh. Yeah.
And then it was more of just like being left out in the sun.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get the milk part.
It
You
used
would
to
die
be about
pretty
the craft,
quickly.
right?
Yeah.
They just kind of lost their passion.
They were
for
like,
it.
you know what? Yeah, we're fine. This is good.
It's like
You're
Elvis
dying.
by the end. It's just like, I'll just do my old shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. But I won't do it well.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of slap it up there.
We do it to say we did it.
Yeah.
That's
fair
about
enough. Okay, well now I'll talk about keel hauling.
Keel
Sorry
hauling
about
is
that.
your thing.
Is a form of punishment, an almost guaranteed execution method, developed for use at sea. So, yeah, the sailor was usually tied to a line looped underneath the ship. So you got a nice little setup for you. You're either thrown overboard, or for like an added bonus, you can be dropped from the mast, like from the outer edge of the mast into the water. So there's like kind of that initial shock of hitting the water from like 30 feet.
Right.
And so then you're just dragged under the ship's hull and keel. So the keel is this kind of solid part that runs down the center of the boat. It goes from one side to the other, basically.
Yeah, it's like the main glue.
Yeah, that holds the whole kind of thing together, the ribs of the boat. So it's often covered in these like barnacles and all these marine biology that have razor sharp like scales or shells that are just shred you apart.
Right.
So they'll just drag you under there a couple times and bring you back up.
Just for fun, yeah.
Just for fun, just because it's Wednesday. It's keel hauling Wednesday. No, but it was a pretty brutal method of death for sure. But you weren't guaranteed to die from the actual keel hauling, like acutely.
Right.
You could be brought back up on board, and then you just die from infection. Because this is...
It would literally probably just take out chunks of your skin.
Oh yeah, man! Like we were talking about this before. There's a scene in Black Sail.
Yeah.
If anybody's seen that pirate movie where there's someone is keel hauled, and he's like on the boat, like on the floor of the boat, just covered in blood, looks like hell, and he's basically just pleading with the guy to shoot him, like, please just kill me, and the guy shoots him. But yeah,
But going through that pain is torture. It's just absolute
and you're underwater,
torture.
so you can't even like breathe. Like everything about you is disorientated. Like it's just a shitty thing. Like, yeah, it's a very creative thing. Someone's like, it would be really shitty if I was dragged under this boat. We should start doing that to like my buddies. Like, I don't know. That's pretty fucked up.
Oh, the sweet release of death.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
God.
Without being too gruesome about it, it would typically result in serious lacerations. But a lot of victims also died from infection, like I said, because this is way pre-antibiotics, right? There's nothing that's...
If they're trying to kill you, they're not going to give you antibiotics anyways.
They weren't going to give it to you anyways, but like there was no coming back from the
infection. No hope for you, sir.
Yeah.
That's it, you're dead.
So
Sorry
it's
for
just
your
fucked
loss.
either way.
Yeah.
And then the other keel hauling method was if there was nothing on the boat, like sometimes boats were clean or sometimes boats were new, they would keel haul you, but they'd just drown you. So they just kind of just do it so slow that you slowly drown. Like they'd bring you up, you'd get one breath, and they'd bring you right back down, keep you down there.
Yeah.
So that's also super shitty.
They wanted to make it the worst thing possible.
The worst fucking... And, like, you probably get it for, like, stealing the captain's rum. Like,
fair, yeah.
Like, man, I had such a
upsetting
shit day.
a queen.
Yeah, yeah, stepping on her foot or something. kicking her Pomeranian. Not that you should kick dogs.
Don't ever do that.
Don't do that. But I could see it happening. If it was the Queen's Pomeranian.
You'll be keel hauled.
You'll be
I'll
keel
make
hauled.
sure of it.
The Pomeranian will watch. Yeah.
Little captain sound, the
Yeah.
Pomeranian. That's the life I live.
Like the dog comes into work.
Yes.
Just watching me get keel hauled.
Beautiful. Is Princess a boy or a girl?
Girl.
I always thought it was a boy.
Nope.
I don't know. Just thought that was fun. I had a bird named Princess. It was a boy.
I had a dad named Princess.
My dad's name. I'm gonna talk to you about blood eagling.
Blood eagling?
Blood eagling.
Ah.
Dated back to the year 867. Anyone who has seen the show Vikings.
Yes.
Have you watched the show
I
Vikings?
did.
Okay.
I remember the scene.
Right. It's a gruesome scene.
I was eating and I was like,
oh, nice.
Fuck. Yeah.
Yes. That's my favorite time. Like burrito time, blood eagle time. The show is pretty factually right, as the Vikings were apparently the first and only people to use this form of execution. But it was known as one of the worst ways to die and was saved for only the worst betrayers, but mostly people who killed their fathers. This seems to be a weird trend of like, you get the worst punishment possible if you killed your dad, which is fair. Like, don't kill your dad, but also, like, I'm sure you could do worse things. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
I think maybe, like, because a lot of times it was inheritance based, right? So they want to make stiff penalties for you, you know, going and knocking your dad off because to get his farm or whatever. So they want to make it as brutal as possible for you, as maybe a warning to like all the other sons. Like,
don't do it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like I remember my sisters getting in trouble for shit, and like my dad looking at me and being like, "Don't do the same shit."
Yeah, you were told.
Yeah, I blood eagled your sister now.
No. But yeah, blood eagling. Essentially, your arms and legs would be bound, forcing you to either stand up or lay down. Then your ribs would be separated from your spine with a sharp tool. If you didn't pass out from that unimaginable pain, you would be awake for your lungs to then be pulled through the opening.
Okay.
To form something that looks like really weird wings.
Okay.
Right? And then if you weren't dead yet, after all of that, a salt rub would be put on your lungs so that you would slowly suffocate until you died. Quick and painless, you know?
Yeah.
No biggie.
It's amazing that your lungs could even function like that.
Outside of your body, right? Isn't that interesting? But
I guess they did.
They did.
Came out with a contingency plan for it, so.
This was a ritual killing as well. It was a sacrifice to the Norse god Odin. And it only appears twice in Norse literature. Both scenarios of a nobleman killing his father. And yeah, that's it. That's what we've got for blood eagling. It's pretty nasty. Yeah, I wouldn't, it's not how I would want to die if I had the choice. You know?
Out of all of them, though, I think I'd take Scappas in the last.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Just crush me by an elephant. At least I could say I met an elephant.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with that.
You fed him a peanut before he crushed your skull. That'd be fun.
Sawing, not my favorite as well. But
yeah, that would be a close second and like the last one I would want to have happen to me. Should I talk about blowing from a gun?
I want to know what this is.
It is not a gay club in Cleveland.
That I want to go to.
Yeah, this is a real torture method.
Mm.
Well, it's not even really. I guess it's more psychological because it is over fast, but it's fucked up. So it's where you take somebody and you basically tie them to a mouth of a cannon. So you just like put the center mass of their body and basically tie their arms and legs to the barrel of the cannon so that their abdomen, chest area is centered over the cannon.
Right.
Yeah. So sometimes it's done to your chest. Usually it was done to the small of the back so that you're tied even in a more uncomfortable way where your arms and
just
stuff
a casual
are
stretch.
behind you. Yeah. So when the gun is fired, hot shit, I can't believe this happens, the head is seen to go straight up into the air 40 or 50 feet. The arms fly off high into the air and fall at perhaps 100 yards distance.
So like easily survivable. You could.
Yeah. They just sew you all back together at the end. Yeah. So the legs drop to the ground. The legs stay there, which I think is kind of funny. I'm sorry, but I just think of like all the body parts going over there and the legs just falling in front of the cannon.
Right.
Yeah, it's very Simpsons kind of.
Yuck. Like, yeah.
Yeah, very cartoonish way to die. So the body is literally blown apart, scattered everywhere. So this was used mostly. It was first used by the Moguls. So the Moguls were a Portuguese empire, basically colonizing a lot of Southeast Asia and areas like that between the 16th and 17th centuries. So their empire went from Ceylon, which is modern day Sri Lanka, to Mozambique, which is East Africa. So they had quite a large. That's where the word Mogul comes from, actually.
Okay.
So they implemented that torture method, that execution method against rebels.
Right.
And that was later adopted by, surprise, surprise, the British Raj.
Of course.
So following the Indian Rebellion of 1857, blowing from a gun was a method the British used commonly to execute rebels.
Okay.
So as well, for the natives found guilty of desertion, they would blow apart any rebel, anybody that left their army, any of the people they had conscripted into the British Raj to fight for them against their own people that deserted. They blow them apart with a gun. And the kind of the most fucked up part of this is that the utter destruction of the body and spreading it across a large area is like a big no-no in Hindu belief.
Okay.
Because they're supposed to bring the body back, have it cremated, put it in the
all
river
together.
Ganges. Yeah, it should be in it, like, and as well as Buddhists. So like pretty much all of the religions of Southeast Asia would be incredibly offended by you blowing them up. Yeah.
So definitely psychological torture.
Yeah,
as well
for sure.
As,
So the British were like, this is a really great way to
piss a bunch of people off,
them off, make them afraid that, like, for their eternal soul kind of thing, and just and it was used up until I think the last one was 1809. Like, that's fucked.
It's
that just seems like way too
not
close.
that long ago.
Yeah. The last one was in Afghanistan in 1930.
In 1930?
Yeah. Against Panjshiri rebels, which were like a Hindu rebel group. Yeah.
That's like 90 years ago.
Yeah, that's way too soon, right? Like
there are people alive who could have seen that and still been alive to tell you about it.
Yeah. Well, that account I read about, like, the bodies blowing apart everywhere, that was paraphrased from several people who had seen it. But so there are people who were around writing journals and stuff that we can read that definitely saw that happen to tons of poor Indian rebels who were fighting for their own freedom.
Wow. I hate that one.
I hate colonialism so much, and that's just like another, like, and the added, like, we're going to just fuck you up on your religious practices too.
Right, just because we can.
Just because that's going to be worse for you. So.
Man, well, I'm obviously going to end it on a super positive note with some rat torture.
Okay.
More animal abuse. I hate this shit. Dated back to 17...
Is it though? Because I feel like the rats have a good time.
Okay, well,
am I wrong?
I'm gonna read this
to
you.
Maybe I'm wrong.
And then you tell me if the rats have a good time.
All right.
Okay. Dated back to 17th century Europe. During the Dutch Revolt. Rats are like my all-time favorite rodent.
I love rats.
Yeah. Rat torture was most commonly used by strapping someone down to a table and placing a single rat inside of a cage on their exposed stomach.
So far, so good.
Then, the cage is slowly heated from the top.
Oh, that's rude.
The rat is obviously smart.
Upset.
And in order to escape the heat, starts to burrow through the flesh and into the victim's bowels.
Of course.
Which would feel like the furthest thing from a tickle.
Just a bit.
So, my thinking is the rat's not having a good time because sure, it can physically do that.
Get away from you.
But is it going to get all the way out? And how many rats were sacrificed in that process? And, you know what I mean?
Also the dude sacrificed him.
To be fair, he was guilty of a crime.
Yeah,
most
but
of these forms of execution.
Yeah. But what were crimes in, like, that period of time when they were doing that? Like, oh, you were a Jew. You're on the board. Like...
Yeah, like maybe, like, terrorism.
I don't know. Like, a lot of it was religious crime, right?
I do agree with that. I'm still really concerned about the rats.
That's fair. You can be concerned about the rat. But I'm also, like, concerned about, like, poor Eddie Mandelbaum bound to the board and being eaten by a rat. Like, this is the worst day I've ever had in my whole life. Can someone turn the air conditioning on here?
There was also another popular way to use rats called Rat Dungeon, which was in the Tower of London.
Is this a metal band?
Yes. No, it isn't. I don't know. Probably.
It should be if it's not. Sorry, go ahead.
Prisoners would be kept in a dark room that sat beneath the Thames River. Once rats would be swept into the current, they would travel into the dungeon where they would have the feast of a lifetime, essentially, because all of these prisoners are down there, wet, soggy, nasty people. But the idea of the rats like near them or gnawing on them while they slept was enough to drive the prisoners absolutely bonkers. Just mental. And you would be so upset by that
hearing
too.
the screams of everybody else like
Mhm.
freaking out for sure.
Yeah.
It'd be not a good time.
Fun fact about rats. A rat can go longer than a camel without a drink of water, which is about 7 months.
Yeah, they're crazy little survivors.
Little cockroaches of the vermin world.
They will, and they'll breed with like parents will breed with their babies. Like they just continue.
They make
them
sure.
little rats.
Yeah.
They do not give a fuck.
No, that's
Yeah.
crazy though. Lots of torture, but
At least we don't use rats anymore.
Well, you know what? We don't know people's lives.
That's true. Are we gonna get into like common day, like now capital punishment?
I guess
Current day
so.
America?
I think so. The etymology. I just like this. This is a fun fact. I love shit like this. The etymology of the word capital punishment comes from the Latin term capitalis, meaning of the head, because most of the early recorded executions were actually public beheadings.
Yeah, taking
So,
your head off.
yeah.
Some form or another.
Capital punishment has been around since the dawn of humankind. We have literally wanted to kill people for doing bad things to us,
But in a fun way.
and do it in the most
yeah.
inhumane, most you will suffer way possible.
In the most art attack way possible.
Yes. And
Art
I mean,
Attack.
it is an art.
That
I
was a
loved that
great
show. God, what happened to him? He
I
was
don't
old
know.
when we were young, though.
I feel like I heard that he started like a punk band. I heard that.
That's a lie.
No, I heard I'm sure I saw this on the internet where he like started like a punk rock band after.
We'll update you next episode.
Yeah, we will look into Art Attack. Any Canadian kids that watch a lot of Canadian children's television will definitely know what we're talking about.
And also Zaboomafoo.
Oh, fuck. Okay, we can't get into Zaboomafoo. We'll never get back into... Thank you, motorcycle.
56 countries remain for capital punishment. 106 countries have completely abolished it. 8 countries have abolished it for ordinary crimes while keeping the option available. And 28 countries are abolitionists in practice, meaning that they haven't formally abolished it yet, but they haven't executed anyone in 10 years.
So it's not off the table, but if they want to break it out for one of the bad guys,
they definitely could. Yeah. Except for the 56 countries, or the 106 countries that have not, like, do not want it. They want nothing to do with capital punishment. But that's still a pretty good chunk of the world that's like, we should keep this.
Yeah. That's fair. But, yeah, not everybody uses it judiciously. Like Saudi Arabia.
Absolutely.
You know,
I mean,
a woman driving or killed in the street. Like, that's pretty fucked up.
There's a lot of politics behind it as well.
For sure.
If we're looking at it like how it originally started, because an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth, which is a biblical verse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Gandhi who like takes that and twists it and goes, well, an eye for an eye ends up making the whole world blind. And I kind of disagree. Like, I'm not sure if you want to get into opinions on it right now. I believe in an eye for an eye. If you kill somebody, should you then be alive depending on why you killed them? Like, that's why we had trials in the first place, right?
Yeah. I think the Gandhi principle is more related to war. India, like when Gandhi is talking about stuff, he's talking about getting Indian independence from like the British Raj, like what we read about, who were blowing people apart with cannons. So he's saying the British have treated us like shit forever. And if we start, killing the British colonizers here, if we start using violence, then they're just going to reciprocate with more violence. And I think that's something you see right now in the Middle East, especially. Syria does something, Israel does something, Syria does something, Israel does something.
Oh, it's a back and forth. It's just a war.
Until somebody goes, it's not fucking worth it anymore.
But then you also have to look at it as culturally, as soon as you give up, it's weakness. It's not a form of like, I'm the bigger person and I'm stepping up for my country. It's weakness.
I suppose so, but like, when's it going to end then? Like, when's somebody going to risk looking weak in order to not have their civilians killed?
That's a great question that we still don't have the answer
Yeah.
to, right? And it's an unfortunate thing.
All right, so I'm going to get into some of the modern capital punishment, I guess we could say techniques. I don't know. What
Forms
word
of
would
execution?
Yeah, forms of execution is probably better. But
Sure.
so a lot of us are familiar with hanging. That's pretty straightforward.
Mhm.
So hanging has been around for a good long time, but hanging as a science was developed by Samuel Houghton. So he was born in Carlow, which is in Ireland, and he was a Unitarian, an active philanthropist, and a strong supporter of vegetarianism and anti-slavery. So he developed a formula for hanging a body that was based on the weight of the condemned, um, which he could use to determine how long of a drop was required, and consequently how long the rope was required to quickly and efficiently break the neck and sever the spinal cord without popping the head off.
And this is why physics is important,
Yeah.
people.
So he used physics to figure out a way, like, so that, because there was a lot of executions, especially happening in like rural areas of Britain, where it was either way too small of a drop and you were just strangling the person for 20 minutes in the air, which people didn't really like to see. They still wanted to see the execution.
Oh, yeah.
They just wanted it to be over without all the dancing. So he developed a way that it would be kind of quickly over. You'd hit this kind of area of, I guess, the most energy being transferred to your neck to snap it, and you'd be done pretty quickly. The second method of execution, which was brought about a lot more prevalently because of the problems with hanging, because even after the formula was developed, a ton of hangmen, especially in America, didn't use the Samuel Houghton method.
Right.
They just were like, I know what I've been doing. I've been hanging people forever. So they just like throw a rope over a tree and just like drag somebody up there, and they just
Totally.
Yeah.
Or like throw them behind horseback or something.
Yeah. So especially in the American South, this happened a lot. But as things went on and things progressed, people kind of got sick of that. They didn't want to see any blood. They didn't want to see anything kind of related to physical death.
Right.
Right? They just kind of grew out of favor with it. But then electricity came along, and everybody was like, this is a newfangled way. Oh boy, we're going to have the radio, and we're going to kill people. So, execution by electrocution, performed using electric chair, which the chair is really not electric. It's really just a method for keeping the prisoner or like the condemned in one spot while they're being shocked.
Right.
And that's because when you get electricity through your body, it's the same impulse that your body uses naturally to make your muscles work.
Right.
So when there's a ton of it applied to your body, you just kind of spasm out. And so oftentimes these guys break bones. They'll clench their teeth to the point where they break their teeth. Blood will come out of their eyes, their nose.
Still a very violent form of death.
Very violent form of death. I would actually take hanging over the electric chair anytime.
Absolutely.
Because oftentimes this takes 2 shocks. And sometimes those shocks can be like a minute and a half long. And that's intensely painful. And sometimes this is done improperly with a sponge that's too wet or a sponge that's too dry.
Yeah.
So a sponge that's too dry, you're just going to cook the person slowly. Mm-hmm. And there's actually been reports of executions where someone smells like cooking meat. Like it smells like pork. It smells like a barbecue.
Nasty.
Yeah. So that started to kind of fall out of favor too.
Or
America.
Delicious. I mean, depending on
if
Jeffrey Dahmer
like,
or not.
We're like, I feel like I could eat this with a nice black bread and spicy mustard. Then, you're Henry Zabrowski. But execution by electrocution went out of favor pretty quickly soon after it was developed.
People are like, I don't want to see this violence. Like, I'm tired of violence.
Yeah. I mean, comparatively. Like, it lasted about 90 years. 100 years compared to other methods of execution.
Of like 400, 500 years of like bullcrap. Yeah.
And some pretty famous people were executed this way. So, like Ted Bundy was killed with an electric chair. And Son of Sam, the New York serial killer, was executed the classic Son of Sam. But lethal injection, still used today. That's our third method.
The most popular form of execution today.
So this is pretty, I mean, it's probably the most humane one that we've developed so far. It can go wrong, and it does go wrong, but that's partly because doctors have to sign the Hippocratic Oath, right? So they can do no harm first. So doctors technically can't perform what is essentially a medical procedure. So oftentimes you have untrained, like, prison staff, or even sometimes in some cases I read prisoners of the prison trained to do this.
That's got to be like a form torture itself that you have
Yeah.
to. I mean, maybe you volunteer, like
Well, I think you get benefits for it. Like you get maybe better treatment,
like
or
a
you get
year
more
off,
cigarettes
or
out of the
yeah,
commissary, or
Jesus,
who
not
knows.
worth it though.
Yeah, not really. But because they can't get doctors to do this, oftentimes the dosage is fucked up. But anyways, it's a legal method of execution that's used in China, Thailand, Guatemala, Taiwan, the Maldives, Nigeria, Vietnam, and Saudi Arabia. To be fair, though, Guatemala hasn't killed anybody since 2000. So they're
Okay.
effectively one of those nations like you were talking about.
Yeah, the abolitionists.
Yeah.
In practice.
Yeah. So the drugs that are used in that are sodium thiopental
Mm-hmm.
or pentobarbital.
Okay, yeah.
So this is a ultra short acting barbiturate that is kind of an anesthetic, just kind of knocks you out for about 30 seconds. So they kind of try to take that 30-second window to inject you with the second drug, which is sodium thiopental. It's even in the absence of the other two drugs, you can kill somebody with this.
Okay.
Pancurium bromide is a non-depolarizing muscle relaxant, so it causes complete and fast sustained paralysis of the body. So that's where people have these horrible scenarios where the first two drugs have worked, the sedative and the muscle relaxant, and they did it out of order, and they've gotten the hot shot, like the last drug, in between. But
Oh no.
Yeah, but they're so paralyzed by the first two drugs, or in between the first two drugs, that they can't say anything.
Right.
So the last drug that they use in the whole process is potassium chloride, which is a potassium salt, which pretty much makes you have a heart attack immediately. Like you get injected with it, you're gonna die. So the other two drugs are kind of unnecessary. You could technically kill somebody with the last two. They're supposed to make it more humane, but oftentimes they make it worse.
Okay, that's fair.
So
that's fair.
It's kind of a hit or miss. You kind of hope that the person doing it has enough medical knowledge that they can like find a vein on you properly, that they're like not injecting it into your muscles.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucked.
Especially if somebody who's not a super trained professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who has no knowledge of what they're doing, really.
God. Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, none of them sound good, right?
None of these sound
like a good
great.
time.
Hey, Steve.
What?
What did the executioner say to his wife when he was on his way out for work?
No clue.
I'll be heading out.
So this is our last episode, everybody.
No.
It was really cool to do this with you, Chase. I had a really good time in the 2 episodes that we've done, but I just don't see us continuing.
Life without
together.
puns is not worth it for me.
I think I would take sawing over that joke again.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
Geez, so even in the United States we use, like, I'm part of the United States. No, I'm not. They use lethal injection. That's what their
pretty common execution method.
Yeah, their preferred injection of choice.
But you know, in Texas, they would love to have blowing of the gun.
Or some other crazy type
they'd be
of
like, woohoo! We're gonna
Yeah!
blow this guy sky high!
Oh my God. But Texas is a really interesting topic. Because they have, I mean, they're still one of the only states who currently uses the death penalty. Even in February of 2020, this year, they executed somebody as well.
COVID's not stopping them.
They don't care. They're like, this needs to happen. We're on a tight schedule, and it needs to happen. In 1982, Texas became the first jurisdiction in the world to carry out an execution by lethal injection. So they were the very first.
They were right on that technology.
Yeah, they wanted it, and
they got Wi-Fi last, but lethal injection first.
That's the most important.
Yeah.
Since then, they have executed over 570 people, including their most recent of this year.
Look at them go.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. The best around. We're gonna put everyone down.
Texas also had the very first execution in 1819 when Mr. George Brown was executed for piracy. Obviously,
so stealing DVDs?
I was going to say he was not out selling bootleg DVDs of My Fair Lady Extended Edition, but he was out stealing loot from ships.
Oh, the original piracy.
The original piracy.
The OG
best piracy.
Yeah, the real piracy.
They just wanted to execute somebody. He seemed to fit that bill, and they did it.
He had a big
so...
beard and an earring and a parrot. He's
Arr.
like, he did it! He did it! Kill him! Kill him! Just like, shut up, you parrot! Shut up!
Yeah. So, like, there are specific guidelines that you have to follow in order to be eligible for the death penalty.
Like they can't be white.
Well, there's that. I mean, race plays a huge part of it, though. Unfortunately,
I know.
And it is an unfortunate fact, but I think it is something we should mention. I am for the death penalty 99% of the time, but my 1% that hinders me is knowing how many people in our judicial system that place a precedent on the stereotype of African Americans and minorities, and how many of them are jailed because of the color of their skin and because of their background, because of how they grew up. Their chances of being executed are far higher than
just
somebody
like being incarcerated originally.
Yes. Yeah. So that's where it's unfair.
In a perfect world where the judicial system was right 100% of the time, and you could say, yeah, this was the guy who killed and raped all those kids, I'd be like, sure, like, why do we have him around? He's not going to do anything good for society ever. We can never let him out. We can never let him around other people.
Right.
So it's almost like we just switched our debate stances. Because before I was bringing up more of my concerns with the death penalty.
That's my biggest concern with the death penalty. Yeah. Aside from that, I'm 110% for it.
You've kind of more turned me on my opinion of it. A little bit more.
Well, just because we've been talking about it for the past week. And
we've been obsessing.
I keep everybody I talk to, I'm like, hey, what's your stance on the death penalty? Yeah. And, I'm just want to be super open to everybody else's opinions. And I want to know, why they think the way they think. And I mean, if you look at it factually, like, capital punishment through lethal injection is so friggin' cheap compared to housing somebody
and feeding them.
Yeah. Because, okay, so I looked at the statistics, and lethal injection costs only about $1,298, so about $1,300 to actually perform the act of lethal injection with all of the drugs, all of the people who are going to be there, witnesses, blah blah blah, about $1,300. Then you have housing for 1 year is $17,000 for a regular inmate, or for 40 years it's like $700K. Do the math. Which one's easier?
Yeah, I think people are always going to bring up like those appeal trials and the original trial, and a death penalty trial is going to be very expensive.
Which runs the state about $2.3 million every time they do one. So sure, but I mean, I even have a quote from Keith. What's his name? Keith something. You gave me a quote, and I wish I wrote your last name down. But he's
Keith Oppenheimer.
Right, he's the director of the Criminal Justice Legal Foundation in Texas. And he said, in Texas, part of the problem is some cases go back for a second or third review to the trial court, and they sit on them for years. That simply should not be allowed. And it shouldn't be allowed. But it's part of what we go through. I mean, even if you go to, like, traffic court, you probably have to wait, like, 3 or 4 months to even get in for that. And that's going to be 5 minutes of them going, yeah, we see you ran the red light, like you're getting a ticket,
But don't go to traffic court, because the cop's not going to show up, because they don't get paid for it, so just don't go.
Or
That's
you go...
the Untimely Truth stance, is don't go to court if you're summoned.
You should go. You should go to court if you're summoned. That is...
Okay, the Steven stance is, if you're summoned to traffic court, don't go, because the cop's not going to show up.
But then if you don't show up, what happens?
I don't know. Nothing happened to me.
But you should show up.
I don't know.
Because if the cop doesn't show up, then don't you win?
I guess
and you're
so,
there?
Because I never heard about it again.
Oh my god. It's trash.
So I won. That's winning to me.
So let me ask you a couple questions here. Mm-hmm. Let's start with a fun one. So we just went through a bunch of old tortures.
Yeah. Old-timey methods.
Old-timey methods.
How Grandpa used to do it.
Right. The way Grandma used to make it.
The way Grandma used to decapitate.
Decapitatos. I'm done. So, what would be your preferred method of execution for yourself if you had to pick how you would die?
Well, I think this is a funny question because I asked my family this question at Christmas.
Oh.
This last year.
Yeah, it's just like regular turkey dinner.
Yeah, we're all sitting down after dinner. And my mom is like a very sweet lady. She's, not much to ponder this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But she was like concisely like firing squad. And I was like, okay.
She's thought about it.
Yeah, like she had
knows
an answer
what's
right
up.
away. She's like, I think it'd be quick, it'd be over fast, you'd be done. And then like we were done talking about it, like a good like hour and a half. and like we're watching a Christmas movie, and my mom's like, "Yeah, no, I definitely picked the firing squad because." So she was obviously still thinking about it.
Yeah.
So she made a very compelling case for that, and now, thanks to my mom, I think I would choose to be executed by firing squad.
Really?
Yeah, thanks, Mom. I love you.
Go, Mama St. Pierre.
Yeah, taught me firing squad is the best.
That's interesting, for sure. Firing squad.
I heard an interesting fact. I don't know if it's true about firing squads, but I heard that one person in the firing squad gets a blank, so that in the back of their head they could go, "I could have been the one with the blank shot. Like I didn't actually kill him." So that everybody almost has plausible deniability to themselves.
Very cool.
Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting like little
I do like
psychological
that.
trick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you could like technically all 5 of you could say, "I could have been the one." 4 of you did, but 1 of you didn't, and you could just always pretend for the rest of your life
that you were the one
that you didn't shoot him. Yeah.
Nice that they thought about the
Yeah.
psychology of that
Yeah.
before.
Very forward thinking, I thought.
Yeah. I would choose guillotine.
Guillotine.
Guillotine would be my preferred choice.
If we were friends, say during the French Revolution, you were guillotined,
Okay.
and I asked you beforehand, could I pick up your head and go, "Hey guys, it's Trace. I missed you guys," and just like move your lips around and be like, "Hey everybody, sing the Macarena." Can I do that?
Yep. Yeah, I'm down.
Because I would let you
I'm
do
dead
that to
anyways.
me if I was dead.
Yeah.
I'd let you like play around with my head and be like, "Oh, I know."
I just throw you in the trash where you belong.
That's fair. And I'm just like, "Hey, Trace, take me out of the trash, buddy. I hate it in here. It smells like bananas."
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Guillotine just seems like quick, painless. It also seems like a pretty messy way to die, so people would have to clean up after that. So it'd be...
Well, you got the basket there, the head basket.
Yeah, I mean, then where the blood goes.
Imagine bringing that into market. Get your heads here. Get your basket full of heads. Got a bushel full of heads. 12 pence a head.
Yeah, I don't know. Guillotine. Guillotine is my go-to.
That's a good one. I
I
think
think
both of ours are,
old-timey.
Yeah, but expedient.
I just want it to be
we
over.
want an efficient death.
Yeah.
We don't want a sawing. We don't want a scaphism.
Nope.
2-week crow pecking death.
Don't need to be in a sack with a monkey and a chicken and a snake and a dog. It's not my thing.
If you weren't being thrown in the lake, though, and you took out the snake, would it be kind of fun?
No.
If it was a big sack, I would love to be sat.
Okay, like
in
a
big
sack
full
the
of dogs.
size of my apartment, sure.
Like those big parachutes you used to play with in gym class as a kid.
No, still
with
no.
a couple dogs.
With a couple dogs, yes. No fucking monkey.
A monkey, but a small monkey, like a rhesus monkey.
No, leave them wherever they come from.
But it's already here. Like,
No.
I'm not doing it. I didn't bring it here. I just want to hang out with it. Like I want to hang out with a monkey and like run around in a gym with it and play dodgeball.
I really do wish this was a podcast about importing and exporting monkeys for your own personal use.
Yeah.
It's just not my jam.
Well, we are coming out with Monkey Stocks, the podcast.
Oh, right.
Where we're going to
Did
like
forget about
Yeah.
aping around,
aping around is also that's like the segment within the segment where we talk about buying and trading monkeys on the
Orange
internet.
July didn't say banana, part 2.
I have a lot of stuff I have to do today. I just remembered I have to shampoo my dog, and my dad needs his toenails clipped. So I'm actually going to quit the podcast right now.
It's totally fair. Don't
and
blame
I'm
you.
gonna go home. But in all reality, capital punishment. It's a sad topic. It's an interesting topic.
If you could choose your death row last meal,
Mm-hmm.
what would it be and why?
Definitely tater tots with sushi. So tater tots as a side with a lot of ketchup.
Yeah.
And you get sushi, dragon rolls. You get the rolls with the little caviar on top.
Yeah, the row. You're right.
Yep, a lot of soy sauce. Eat the shit out of that.
Right.
Have 15 Old Milwaukees as dessert. And then as dessert, I drink 6 Budweisers so that I am just zonked.
Schmammered.
Yeah. I'm just hammered beyond belief when I sit in that chair or get shot to death.
I don't know. Would it throw it off? Would you be like seizing on the table because of how much alcohol you drink? Would they allow you to drink this much alcohol?
Well, I think because I'd be blasting Led Zeppelin 4 the whole time before this when I'm drinking all the beers and eating all the sushi.
Right.
I'd just be fucking psyched for it.
It wouldn't even
The
matter.
Stairway to Heaven, like, would be, the solo would be happening, like, and I'd just be, yeah, fuck yeah, bro. And, like, that's how I want to go out, is just listening to the Stairway to Heaven solo electricity coursing through all of my body, making my muscles just rupture and spasm.
Remind me not to buy a ticket.
Oh, you're going to want to see it. You're going to want to hang out. You're going to be eating popcorn. You're going to be eating your last meal because you're next. So
Right.
What are you picking?
Chicken Caesar salad, the biggest bowl you can imagine, with all the fixings, bacon included.
Can I say that I'm incredibly surprised?
No, why?
Because I like how you said no, but I'm still going to say it. I thought you picked Taco Bell.
Oh, I'm not done. So
Okay, sorry.
chicken Caesar salad. I just love chicken. I also want a chicken quesarito. Give me like 4 chicken quesaritos.
That sounds about right.
Give me a big gulp size 1 liter Baja Blast or Baja Blast Freeze if you have them in stock. Taco Bell, get your shit together. And for dessert, I would definitely eat like some sort of bomb ass brownies or like
pot brownies.
Of course. What kind of brownies are there?
Would you do like acid before you got like? Would you go out tripping?
Sure. I mean, you're dying
If you're already
anyways.
going through ego death, you might as well go through real death.
Doesn't matter.
That's a good point.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I like your answer. I just hope you've considered it well enough because you're about to die.
It is COVID-19. I'm expecting it very soon.
Yeah, that'll
I've
be
also
your
been
lesson.
praying to whatever God will listen to me for a
Vishnu.
zombie apocalypse.
Vishnu listens to us. If
Oh,
you're on
okay.
the west coast of Canada, it's Vishnu. If you're a little lower down, like say you're in Oregon, you have to talk to Odin. It's a whole by region.
Well, I'll just like go Blood Eagle a couple people, sacrifice to Odin, and then he should listen too. So.
I would Blood Eagle. No, I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say a few of the customers that work right now.
Nope, we're gonna cut that out. This has been a podcast.
What a fun subject.
I actually really didn't mind it at all.
What a lighthearted subject. The whole time I was researching sawing, my groin hurt.
Oh,
Like
that's
I was just
fair.
sitting there typing on my laptop and I could like feel it.
You could feel the
I could feel the saw resting on my genitalia.
nice.
Yeah. Well, that's
Good.
also because I had a saw on my balls, but
Well, that
that's just also how I hang out.
that's fair. Yeah, just living life on the edge.
Yeah, literally on the edge.
Literally,
of the saw.
penalty of the sack.
Yeah, penalty of. Man, I still want a monkey.
You don't get a monkey.
What if a monkey knew how to roll blunts?
It doesn't matter. Why are you teaching your monkey this? A, B, why do you have a monkey?
A, why can I not give this monkey a career? Teach it a new life skill. B, why are you so anti-monkey?
I'm anti-monkey here. Monkeys are not.
Oh, that's so you're just like the people like I don't mind foreigners from other places, but I just
Oh
don't want
my
them here.
lord! Can the monkey communicate to you?
Yeah, it
I would
knows
like to
sign
come to
language.
Canada.
It knows sign language in
No.
Spanish, Lithuanian, and English.
No, it literally was birthed. It came like into the world. It does not
Yes.
know sign language naturally.
Okay, but it learned how to drink from a resort that it lives by, and it picks it up.
They
Picked up
hate
sign
you.
language. It can ask for a Budweiser in 13 different languages.
There's nothing more that I want right now than to not.
Talk about monkeys drinking. All right, well then we should wrap it up. Capital Punishment's been fun. I hope you enjoyed listening to the second episode, everybody. Should we close out with the traditional tune? If you want to listen to more of the Untimely Truth, tune in anytime.
Thank you guys very much for listening. We appreciate all the support, and we just appreciate all the feedback too. So please don't be shy to
Fuck you, Lori.
give us a shout on wherever we post this.
Spotify, anywhere.
Yep.
We love you all.
Okay. Goodbye.
From the bottom of our hearts.